Easy Explain Ralph Waldo Emerson, The American Scholar from 1837. So, first, very broadly, an overview of how Emerson is defining the American scholar. And this is his emphasis, this is his italics. It is man thinking, right? So, it's a thinking person, really thinking, right? I like to think this is critical and independent thought, right? Thinking for yourself. So there's three main influences on thinking here for Emerson. They are nature, of course, right? Coming out of 1836, his big work on nature, transcendentally considered. Books, he's a man of letters. He's a very bookish person. And action, right? That very early American spirit of taking action. So let's go through each of these main influences and see how Emerson has they influence our thinking. So the first main influence of nature, Emerson says, the first in time and the first in importance of the influences upon the mind is that of nature. Again, keep in mind that nature and mind are going to be very closely tied together for Emerson. He goes on to say, every day the sun, and after sunset, night and her stars. Ever the winds blow, ever the grass grows. Every day men and women conversing, beholding and beholden. The scholar is he of all men whom this spectacle most engages. He must settle its value in his mind. And this is, also waxing poetic. There's almost an air of Whitman in here, right? If you're familiar with the poetry of Walt Whitman, you could definitely see how Whitman would be inspired to take up his American poetry after reading something like this from Emerson. Let's go on to the second main influence of three. Let's look at what Emerson says about books and how books influence our thinking. He says the next great influence into the spirit of the scholar is the mind of the past. In whatever form, whether of literature, of art, of institutions, that mind is inscribed. Books are the best type of the influence of the past. That's a really cool way to think about books, I think, right? They were written down in the past. You put part of your mind into a book, you make it objective, and then in the future, the present, we can reference these books, and we're accessing minds of the past, influence our own thinking. Really cool way to think about it. He goes on to say that books are the best of things, well used, abused among the worst. What is the right use? What is the one end which all means go to effect? They are for nothing but to inspire. Right? So he's saying, why would we go to books? Really to inspire our own thinking, right? We're going to learn from them. Excuse me. Last bit here on books. Emerson says, genius looks forward. The eyes of man are set in his forehead, not in his hind head. Man hopes, genius creates. So for Emerson, genius is looking forward. It's this act of creating. Yes, you're going to be inspired by books, but we're going to move beyond hope, right? We're not just going to hope for it. We're going to figure out a way to see it done, to make it done as we, continue to influence our thinking. Third main influence here, this is action, the call to action. How does action influence our thinking? Emerson says action is with the scholar subordinate, but it is essential. Without it, he is not yet man. Without it, thought can never ripen into truth. Whilst the world hangs before the eye as a cloud of beauty, we cannot even see its beauty. Inaction is cowardice. There can be no scholar without the heroic mind. The preamble of thought, the transition through which it passes from the unconscious to the conscious, is action. Only so much do I know as I have lived. Instantly we know whose words are loaded with life and whose not. Right, so sure, thinking is one thing, but taking those thoughts and putting them into action is another. He goes on, if it were only for a vocabulary, the scholar would be covetous of action. Life is our dictionary. Good little quip there. And last bit on this third main influence on thinking, that of action. Emerson says the final value of action, like that of books, and better than books, is that it is a resource. The mind now thinks, now acts, and each fit reproduces the other. Thinking and acting are going hand in hand. Character is higher than intellect. Character determined by your actions. Thinking is the function, living, the act of living is the functionary, right? So these are the three main influences of thinking. This is what it means to be an American scholar, right? You're going to be taking in nature, you're going to be taking in books, you're going to be converting those things into your own actions, a call to action. And now let's end this essay by looking at what are the duties of the American scholar, right? We have these things down, we're doing these things. What's the ethical consideration? What ought we to do? What should we do? So here Emerson says, the scholar is the man who must take up into himself all the ability of the time, all the contributions of the past, all the hopes of the future. What a burden. He must be a university of knowledge. If there be one lesson more than another which should pierce his ear, it is, the world is nothing, the man is all. In yourself is the law of all nature, and you know not yet how a globule of sap ascends. In yourself slumbers the whole of reason. It is for you to know all. It is for you to dare all. And again, the context of this essay, The American Scholar, was first being delivered as a commencement address, right? So how inspiring to these young graduates, right? It's for you to know all. It's for you to dare all. Get out there and take action, right? And finally here, last passage to consider from The American Scholar, Emerson says, if the single man plant himself indomitably on his instincts and there abide, the huge world will come round to him. Patience, patience. All in due time. Work with nature, work with books, take action based on your independent, critical, creative thoughts, and all in due time, things will work out. Again, this was delivered as a commencement address, but I think it's still inspiring for those driven by thought and creativity to take action, move forward as American scholars. One more essay to consider here a few years later, 1841, Self-Reliance. But for now, I hope this helps.